your state, the nine commission has changed within 6 months. And it seems your party and some other persons are calling for the commissioner of police to be removed.
Well, first, I always, whenever this question is posed to me, I always say that I'm not in the police administration at all. So it actually is up to the police administration. So send commissioners of police to Bayelsa. Having said that, I agree that we've had a few commissioners of police sent to Bayelsa State within a very short time recently. But then you have to ask yourself the question, who kept asking for those changes? It was Dickson. Governor Dickson always didn't want to work with any commissioner of police that he did not send there himself. So as soon as Governor Dickson realizes that a commissioner of police is sent there without his prior input, he ensures that that commissioner of police is removed and replaced. And then, of course, sometimes he actually set the police commissioners up. There was a certain commissioner of police when he went there. Governor Dickson withdrew all the vehicles that the state government had donated to the police and asked his security outfit Operation Duakbo to actually stop operations as well. So he actually left the state without any form of support, the police without any form of support. What did he want to achieve? He just wanted to precipitate a situation where there was problem in the state, security problem in the state, to justify his request for the removal of that commissioner of police. That was the extent Governor Dickson was ready to go. He doesn't even mind if the state burned as long as he achieved what he wanted to achieve. It's unfortunate. And that's why we've been having all these problems in the state. Commissioners of police being sent out and sent in. But there were times also within that time that commissioners of police will go there and the governor will be very, very quiet. There were times commissioners of police were sent there and he starts shouting. So there were times I also asked those questions. I asked that question a few times. I said, why is it that at the movement of the 8th commissioner of police, 8, Governor Dickson didn't say anything, because that 8th commissioner of police being sent there was one person that he requested for, was the commissioner of police that he requested for to do his bidding. So it was just a very reactionary thing.
Do you think that this commissioner of police should remain or should go?
Frankly, it is not within my purview. I've never really bothered. I don't even know which commissioner of police is there.
But there's this belief that you were the one who engineered the police to come.
That's what I say. When somebody suffers from paranoia, this is what you face. I mean, anything that happens in Bayelsa, as long as it is not in favor of Governor Dickson, was engineered by me. And I ask you, am I in the police administration? I'm not at all. In the wisdom of the IG, he sends commissioners of police to Bayelsa State. And I understand that the commissioner of police was sent as an election police commissioner. He was sent there for the election. And I believe after the election, he will be sent back. And that happens every time, in many other states as well. But I don't know why Bayelsa State is always singled out. Because we have a shouting governor that likes to shout. He likes to hear his voice all the time.
Well, there are this issue concerning thuggery and the APC, PDP in your state, they are pointing accusing fingers at each other. And each time they mention APC Bayelsa, you come to blame.
Well, I am leader of APC Bayelsa, so I will not I will always be associated with APC. But of course, Governor Dickson was the one that brought talks to Bayelsa State. Even in the running to the rerun elections coming up on Saturday, I have it on good authority that the governor has gone to neighboring states to procure thugs, to pay for thugs to come in. Why were some of these words cancelled? Why were the results cancelled in some of these words? It was because of the thuggery. In Kolama, in southern Niger, Ward 17, the former chairman of APC, who is working with Dickson now, and the chairman of the PDP, brought thugs from Warri, shot their way into the community, and took all the electoral materials away. So it wasn't me. It wasn't the APC. That was why INEC, in their wisdom, cancelled that result. In Ward 16, also in the same southern Niger local government, that is what they did. They shot they shot and carted away all the electoral materials. You must be aware that in the election, the presidential election and the National Assembly election, scores of people were arrested in the same southern Niger, brought by an acting local government chairman appointed a few days to the election. They were arrested by the police. They are right now, they've been transferred to Abuja. So tell me, where did the APC bring one thug? Nowhere. As far as thuggery is concerned in Bayelsa politics, Dickson is the beginning and end of thuggery in Bayelsa State. But unfortunately, he keeps calling my name. And of course, everybody in Bayelsa, every well-meaning person in Bayelsa, knows that I'm an innocent man. And that's why I walk free. I hope that this election, the security agencies will ensure that those thugs that he has procured will not go and disrupt anything again.
But I hear you're already planning to take military, to work with military and INEC to subvert the will of the people. That's what is going on.
So I work with INEC and
yes,
what?
And the military. Since you.
But I have always, look, these are things that I have always accused them of. Dickson owns the security. The last time I told everybody, he used the police to rig. It was his security outfit, the Operation Blackball, that he uses to rig. They actually go into polling units to collect ballot boxes and election materials. I don't have control of those kind of police units. The army works for all of us. And frankly, the last time, I must tell you, the last election, the army did a good job. You see that in Bayelsa, there was no clamor. There was no complaint about the army killing anybody. Without the army, frankly, let's face it, without the army activity of the military, we probably would not have had an election in Bayelsa State.
So what they're saying is true?
No. You see, Dickson is afraid of the army because the army curbs the activity of his thugs. Without the army, the thugs would have overrun Bayelsa State. But now, let Dickson come up with one evidence in Bayelsa State of the army being involved in any form of election manipulation. Dickson has been saying all these things, accusing the army, but has he brought one evidence of the army in Bayelsa State being involved in the electoral process. One, I'm talking of one evidence. I'm not talking of, if okay, let him bring half an evidence. Because the army in Bayelsa State has never been involved in manipulation of the election. They only escort materials. And frankly speaking, let's face it, we need that. Now, when his talks cannot function, he shouts. Luckily, I can say that he has not been able to use the military the way he wanted it to manipulate and subvert the will of the people. But I have never used the army. The army is not within my control at all. Now, if you talk about INEC, I don't want to say too many things. INEC is trying, but frankly, we are still far away from where we should be. Even with INEC, because, of course, Dickson has used money to influence a lot of INEC officials. We have it on good authority. So I actually complain about INEC when it comes to this election. Because in Bayelsa State, we won more than we are credited with. We won more seats.
You're talking about, the supplementary election on Saturday, you have less seats because from the people.
No, but I'm just saying, if you allow, I said, yes. Look, I said we won more seats that we were credited with. We actually won more seats, but the collusion of INEC officials with Dickson made us to lose a lot of the seats. Well, we are going to court for that. But I'm just telling you that, look, we should be accusing Dickson of manipulating INEC or using INEC to manipulate election results in Bayelsa State, not the other way around. He uses INEC and INEC officials to manipulate results in Bayelsa State, not the other way around. But of course, as far as I'm concerned, these matters are matters that will be taken to the tribunal, so I don't want to spend so much time talking about them. But it's definitely not the APC, but the PDP that has been using the police and INEC, and sometimes even the army, to manipulate elections in Bayelsa State. Not us at all.
All right, Saturday is a supplementary election into some of the seats, states legislative seats. You already have you already have 4 PDP with 17, the 3 seats to go. Are you optimistic that you will take the 3 seats to make it?
Look, these are all our strongholds. The election is holding in our strongholds. I told you, for example, that it was because of the collusion of INEC officials and Dickson and PDP that we lost a lot of the seats. These seats were originally won by us, but of course, some of those units were cancelled just to make us lose. But of course, they can't do that everywhere because it's not possible. There are certain cases that have become too glaring. That's why they fixed these supplementary elections. There is one supplementary election in Branch Constituency 1, which is my local government. There is no supplementary election in Dickson's. They very promptly announced all those ones. But Dickson ensured that there were supplementary elections because he really wants to prove that he can win even in my local government.
You call Dickson, is he an INEC official?
Dickson, Governor Dickson.
Is he an INEC official?
No, I say he colludes. Some INEC officials collude with him. I said so before. Of course, money plays a big role here. And he has tons and tons of that. You will agree with me. So that's why, he in some cases, he dictates which results should be announced, which results should be withheld. And what's responsible for that is money. That is the truth. So now, he ensured that this election was not announced. in my local government. But of course, we will continue to win. In the other place, in Ogbea, that is my senatorial district as well. We will win. In Southern Nigeria, the outstanding constituency is our stronghold. We will win. So I'm very hopeful that after the supplementary elections, we'll have cause to at least celebrate a few more seats, although we expect to have more from the tribunal.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.